I've been working my way up to this one, but let's talk about love in relationships. Now, here's something that is really food for thought. We end up in relationships, particularly marrying the people who end up triggering all our unhealed wounds with us. We might have made such a commitment to never reliving what we endured in our childhood, and somehow our adult lives end up emulating in a lot of ways some of the toxic patterns, the maladaptive behaviors, and the unpleasant traits of the people in our upbringing. Usually in Punjabi culture, we're used to breadcrumbs. We are used to accepting the bare minimum as tolerable. For example, a fighting free evening ends up being a win. A parent showing up to one of our events or sharing praise or being a little bit more attentive than usual. So our bar and standard for what we deem acceptable and exciting in a partner is pretty low. So if you grow up with a very emotionally vacant or unavailable father, let's just say, and some guy rolls around in your early adulthood and he gives you a few compliments and he makes you feel validated and present in the world, you're really going to hyper latch on to that and it's going to feel like it's filling your cup. But because there's so many unmet needs and insecurities and past wounds, and because of that whole tendency of naturally ending up attracting someone with the same level of trauma, maybe not the same traumas, but the same level of trauma, then sometimes those toxic things from the past end up resurfacing. Ever ended up in a relationship and you take a look around and you go, how the heck did I get here? How did I end up with some patterns perpetuating and some familiar things resurfacing? Or how did I end up with a partner who reminds me of one of my caregivers? Whether that's their aggression or their codependency, their vacancy and their flip-flopping, being hot and cold, whatever it is that's feeling uncomfortably familiar to you, know that that's because of how we're wired. We're creatures of habit. We will gravitate towards that which still needs healing. We'll gravitate towards that which feels familiar, because even if familiarity is not optimal, it still feels safer than the unknown. So just notice when you're in these romantic relationships, or if you're dating, or if you are committed to someone, really take a step back and analyze and observe and go, what's this reminding me of? How is this familiar? Is there any shared traits between one or more of my caregivers and my romantic partner? Naturally, so children are going to have a yearning for love and attention. And if they don't get it, it plants these deep-rooted wounds. And we're going to want those wounds healed later in life by those who are closest to us. So naturally, we go to our partner with our pain and we say, heal it, fix it, heal it, fix it. But because as a collective, we've had a lot of overarching trauma too, and a lot of our households were similar, our partner's not going to be able to heal it because they've got wounds in there too that's roadblocking them from being adaptive and from showing up in a wise mind space. So patterns and cycles end up perpetuating. There's a lot of statistics that show women who have been abused in youth end up in abusive relationships in adulthood. Women who come from homes where one of their caregivers cheated on the other end up in relationships where either they're cheating or their partner's cheating. This isn't by happenstance. This is our psychological wiring. And knowledge is power. So the more that you pay attention to these patterns and you take that analysis and that curiosity, the more you can change these narratives and really get to the root of the wounds and the healing. What's the antidote? What's the answer? Be well aware of what your attachment patterns are. Know what your unmet needs are. What are your subconscious pullings? What are you naturally gravitating towards? What are the hurts that you want your partner to solve or satiate or heal within the union of a relationship? All of these things will give you the answers as to what needs to change. And humans are very malleable. We're like Play-Doh. We're just on standby for the more adaptive approach or wiring. So nothing set in stone. There is always a way to change the narrative, change the patterns, and to become more secure in your relationships, and to have a nice, strong foundation and base from which you then go venture out and find the person that's going to add value, not necessarily fill holes or check off unchecked boxes, but that's simply going to be the excess, the extra, the bonus, the complementary aspects to your life. What are your thoughts and feelings? Have you thought about this before? Have you noticed this narrative playing out in your own life? Have you started thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I'm just destined for toxicity? This is just my destiny, my fate. It's what I endured in childhood, and it's now what it's around me in adulthood. Have you ever felt that way? If so, leave me a comment below. And of course, you can also reach out for counseling therapy. I'd love to connect and chat further. Until next time, thanks for watching. See you again.